My brother slept with my wife. Yes, you read that right, and no, this isn't some clickbait twist. Instead of holding him accountable, my parents sided with him. They even had the audacity to suggest I should support their new blended family. What I did after that left them completely stunned. I'm a 36-year-old guy, and honestly, I just need to get this off my chest. I feel like I'm losing my grip, and I could really use some outside perspective. But to make any of this make sense, I've got to take you back, way back, to the beginning. I grew up in what you'd probably call a typical suburban neighborhood just outside Portland, Oregon. Back then, my parents didn't seem like bad people, not at first. They both had stable jobs, and we did all the usual family stuff. Summer BBQs, road trips, awkward holiday photos. It felt normal. It was normal for a while. For the first 10 years of my life, I was the only child. And honestly, those years were kind of great. I felt seen. I felt loved. But then Trevor was born. Now, I know how this might sound, like standard sibling rivalry. But it wasn't. It really, truly wasn't. I've spent more than enough time in therapy to understand that what happened wasn't just some petty jealousy over a new baby. The day they brought Trevor home, something shifted. It was like someone dimmed my light, turned down the volume on my existence. I didn't just feel forgotten. I was forgotten. Take 6th grade, for example. I spent 3 months building a ridiculously detailed model of the solar system for my school's science fair. I even programmed a small Arduino setup so the planets would rotate in sync. The judges were floored. I got a special award for mathematical integration, something only one other student in the district had received that year. My parents didn't show up. Not because they couldn't, but because Trevor had t-ball practice. Not a game. Just practice. Meanwhile, our living room walls were decorated with Trevor's participation ribbons from soccer and Best Listener certificates from preschool. My science fair trophy? It sat unopened on the mantle for about a week before vanishing into a box in the basement. To this day, my mom still has one of Trevor's kindergarten macaroni projects framed in the kitchen. If you asked her where my high school diploma is, I guarantee she wouldn't know. Dad was worse. There was a huge robotics competition in high school. My team had been prepping for it for months, and I was the captain. Dad promised he'd be there. The morning of the event, Trevor suddenly decided he was into baseball and wanted to toss a ball around in the backyard. So guess what? Dad bailed. On the biggest moment of my semester. But if you really want to know how far the favoritism went, you have to hear about the car situation. When Trevor turned 17, my parents surprised him with a brand new Honda Civic. They said it would help him build confidence. When I turned 17, I got a speech about responsibility. I ended up juggling 3 part-time jobs just to save for college, mornings at the library, tutoring math after school, and fixing computers at a local repair shop on weekends. 3 months in, Trevor crashed that Civic. Totaled it. And what did my parents do? Bought him another one. The thing is, Trevor wasn't just spoiled. He was difficult. The kind of kid other parents whispered about behind closed doors. He threw full-blown tantrums well into his teens, screaming, breaking stuff, skipping school, and my parents just kept making excuses. He's just sensitive. He's expressing himself. It's just a phase. Meanwhile, I wasn't allowed a single slip. If I brought home anything less than an A+, Mom would make a passive-aggressive comment about how maybe I was overextending myself. If I showed frustration or emotion, I was the problem, because that might upset Trevor. Here's the saddest part. For the longest time, I genuinely believed it was me who needed to change. I thought if I just worked harder, got better grades, became more helpful, more impressive, maybe they'd finally see me. So I twisted myself into not trying to earn their attention. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. It wasn't until college that the fog started to lift. I began seeing how other families worked, how parents called just to check in, showed up for their kids' wins, cared about the details. My roommate's mom once mailed him cookies just because he had a rough week. That simple act blew my mind. But the absolute best part about college? It was far from home. I only went back for the big holidays, and even then, I always looked for a reason to cut the visit short. Dad would try to lay on the guilt. Trevor really misses his big brother. Funny thing is, Trevor never reached out unless he wanted cash for some half-baked business idea. By junior year, I was thriving. 3 of my academic papers were published, and my department had nominated me for an elite exchange program in Japan. 6 months at Tokyo National University, working on a cutting-edge AI project. Want to guess when my parents noticed I was going overseas? They didn't. I was already there when they found out. They were too busy dealing with Trevor, who'd just been kicked out of yet another community college, his third, for skipping classes and not finding his passion. But those 6 months in Tokyo? They changed everything. The tech scene was electric. The people, the innovation, it felt like I was finally breathing fresh air. Nobody saw me as Trevor's older brother or the quiet one. I got to be me. By the time the program ended, a startup offered me a full-time role once I graduated. Great pay, full visa sponsorship, no-brainer. I said yes instantly. I graduated top of my class, got job offers from major companies, and guess what? My parents skipped my graduation. Why? Because Trevor had an interview at GameStop. But by then, I didn't even care. I was already gone. Moving to Tokyo was the best decision I've ever made. Within 3 years, I was leading key projects and building a life I never thought possible. My parents barely noticed. The rare times they did call, it was always the same. Trevor's having a rough time. Trevor needs help. Trevor had gotten himself fired. Again. Then came the borrowed money from some sketchy people, followed by a dramatic story about a girl being pregnant. Turned out, that too was just another lie. The girl ended up filing a restraining order against him because he kept showing up uninvited and refused to leave her alone. That was the kind of chaos he dragged behind him like a storm front. It was around then that I met Kelly. I still remember the moment like it happened this morning. I was standing in this tiny cafe in Kafuji, nervously fumbling through broken Japanese, trying to explain to the cashier why my card kept getting declined. I was 2 seconds away from a full-blown meltdown when, out of nowhere, she stepped in and offered to translate. Calm, confident, kind, she saved me that day in more ways than one. Turned out she was an English teacher at a nearby international school. But more than that, Kelly was different. She listened. Not in the polite, surface-level way most people do, but with full attention and genuine curiosity. When I talked about my projects, she didn't just nod, she asked questions, challenged my ideas, got excited about them. She had her own dreams, her own ambition. She wasn't looking for someone to fix her life, she wanted someone to walk beside her while she built it herself. We were together for 2 years before I proposed. The wedding was small, just close friends and her family, but it was perfect. My parents didn't come. Said they couldn't make it because Trevor needed them, something vague about him being caught up in a credit card fraud scheme. Honestly, I was relieved. Their absence made the day feel lighter. Life finally felt like it was working. I had a job I loved, a wife who saw me, and I was living in a city that felt more like home than anywhere else ever had. On weekends, Kelly and I would explore different corners of Asia, snacking on strange street food, hiking mountain trails, getting lost and laughing about it. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was living. I really thought I'd closed the chapter on my family. But then my company announced something unexpected. They were opening a new office in Portland, and they wanted me to lead it. Triple the salary, full relocation, all expenses paid. Kelly was ecstatic. She saw it as the start of a new adventure and was excited to see what life in the States would be like. I wasn't exactly thrilled about going back to Portland, but I told myself enough time had passed. Maybe things would be different now. When we landed, I got a text from my mom asking if we'd arrived safely. For a fleeting second, I thought, maybe she finally cares. But no, she just wanted to let me know that Trevor was back in Portland too. Apparently, his business ventures in Arizona had collapsed. And by ventures, she meant that he'd scammed some rich girl's parents into investing in a fake tech startup. The whole thing was just a poorly made website that never even launched. When they discovered he was spending their money on designer dinners and leased sports cars, they threatened legal action. Classic Trevor. Still, Kelly and I settled into a great place in Belmont, got good jobs, and for a little while, it actually felt like things were falling into place. Then Trevor started popping up. It began with a few texts. Hey big bro, heard you're back. Then came emails, longer ones. He said he wanted to reconnect, claimed he'd been going to therapy and had finally come to terms with the things he'd done. One message stood out, long, emotional, filled with supposed regret. He said he wanted to be a real brother again, that he missed me, that he'd changed. I didn't reply. I let it sit for a couple of weeks, unread, hoping the silence would send the message. But then he figured out where I worked. One afternoon, he just showed up, told the front desk we had lunch plans. Thankfully, security double-checked. I said no. He stayed outside the building for 3 hours. Just stood there. Didn't move. Just stared up at the windows like some kind of unsettling, human lawn ornament. My whole team saw him. It became office gossip. Kelly thought I was being cold. He's trying to make peace, she said. Everyone deserves another shot. She didn't know the half of it. Not about the restraining order, not about the fake businesses, not about the trail of people he'd manipulated and drained dry. I hadn't told her everything. I was ashamed. Because who wants to admit their brother is a full-time con artist? But Trevor was a master manipulator. That was his gift. He knew how to read people, how to say just the right thing to get through their defenses. Soon, he started messaging Kelly directly. Long, flowery messages about how proud he was of me, how deeply he regretted our lost connection, how much he wanted to be part of our lives. Kelly, being the kind soul she is, started to believe him. He seemed sincere, she said. Maybe therapy really did help. I didn't buy it. I'd seen that act one too many times. But Kelly believed in second chances. She wanted so badly to believe people could change. And then, without asking me, she invited him over for dinner. I came home from a long, exhausting day, walked through the door, and there he was, Trevor, lounging in my living room like it was his, feet up, grinning like he belonged there. For a second, I genuinely thought I must have blacked out, forgotten something. But no, this was all Kelly. I pulled her into the kitchen, trying to keep my voice calm. You invited him here? Without telling me. She crossed her arms and let out this quiet sigh. I just thought, if you two could talk face to face, maybe you'd see he's really trying. I didn't want to make a scene. Not with Trevor 5 feet away. And a small part of me, stupid, hopeful, wondered if she was right. Back in the living room, Trevor went all in. Brought some flashy gift, probably paid for with someone else's credit card. Asked me about my job, about Tokyo, about our wedding, like he cared. Then he worked up a few fake tears as he talked about our childhood, painting himself as the broken little brother who just wanted forgiveness. I didn't believe a word of it. But after that dinner, he kept showing up. Always during the day, always when I was at work. He said he was just keeping Kelly company. Kelly was still adjusting to life in Portland, and I understood how hard that transition could be. New city, new culture, new rhythms. It wasn't easy. Looking back, I should have seen what was happening. The warning signs were right there, flashing in plain sight. But I was so caught up in the whirlwind, launching the new office, onboarding staff, juggling deadlines, handling all the logistics, that I didn't notice what was happening just beneath the surface. A couple months in, I had to fly back to Tokyo for about a week. The company needed me to personally transfer several sensitive projects and train the guy who'd be taking over my responsibilities there. Kelly reassured me she'd be fine. Trevor can help me unpack the last of the boxes, she said. He knows the area better than I do. I didn't want to come across as controlling or paranoid. Kelly's a grown woman, smart, capable, fully able to handle herself. And Trevor? Lately, he'd actually been acting kind of normal. Still, something didn't sit right with me. So I took precautions. I asked a couple of our neighbors to casually keep an eye out. I installed a few security cameras, just in case. Made sure Kelly had every emergency contact she might need. That week in Tokyo was a blur. 14-hour days, nonstop meetings, barely time to sleep or eat. I was burning out fast. Meanwhile, Kelly's texts started to change. They got shorter, less detailed, less frequent. She said it was just the time zone difference. That she was busy setting up her new classroom for the upcoming school year. Reasonable enough. Trevor was keeping in touch too, sending photos of the two of them out at trendy cafes, wandering downtown, acting like a cheerful tour guide. There were pictures from museums, parks, busy shopping districts. But they weren't alone. My parents were in every photo, grinning like this was one big family vacation. Trevor's messages were practically soaked in sentiment. He kept thanking me for giving him another shot, saying he finally understood what it meant to be part of a real family. With my parents tagging along, I tried to convince myself it was fine. Everything was probably okay. But something still didn't feel right. When I finally got back from Tokyo, we had a family dinner. Everyone gathered around the table, Kelly, my parents, Trevor, and me. And for the first time in, maybe ever, it actually felt normal. Trevor wasn't dominating the conversation or hijacking the moment. Then Kelly set down her fork, looked around the table, and said the words that stopped my heart in the best way possible. I'm pregnant. I almost couldn't believe it. We talked about starting a family before, but this was real. I was over the moon. My mom squealed, already blurting out baby name ideas. Dad gave me one of those heavy-handed backslaps he reserved for big moments. And Trevor? He didn't look surprised. Not even a little. He just smiled, this calm, to even grin, and said, Looks like this family's growing in all the right ways. That line hit me in the gut. I didn't know why at the time, but it left a strange chill in the room for me, anyway. Looking back now, I know exactly why. That was the moment everything started to unravel. After the pregnancy news, Trevor's behavior began shifting. At first, I told myself he was just being enthusiastic. But it didn't stop. He started showing up unannounced every couple of days, like he thought he had a standing invitation. Just checking on my favorite sister-in-law, he'd say with that same smug little smile, like he was already part of the household. Then came the comments. Small, offhand remarks that felt just a little wrong. This kid's already gonna be strong. I can feel it. I feel so connected to all of this. It didn't sound like an excited uncle. It sounded possessive. Like he saw himself at the center of something that didn't belong to him. I brushed it off at first. Told myself it was just Trevor being Trevor. No boundaries. Always a little too much. But the red flags kept stacking up. Eventually, I brought it up to Kelly. Don't you think it's a little strange how involved he's being? I asked, half hoping she'd finally say yes, that she felt it too. But instead, she just sighed. Gave me this tired look. You're overreacting, she said. He's just happy for us. Happy for us? Or just happy for you? She rolled her eyes and walked into the kitchen. God, you're always so suspicious, she muttered. He's trying to be a better person, and you just won't let anyone in. That should have been the moment I stopped everything. Put up the walls. Asked the hard questions. But I didn't. I let it go. I told myself maybe I was just being paranoid. Then one night, I came home late from work and noticed the front door was unlocked. I was sure I'd locked it that morning. Figured maybe Kelly had brought in groceries or taken the trash out and forgotten. But it nagged at me. So I checked the security footage. Or, I tried to. What I found was an error message, storage settings failure. The system had stopped recording. And the worst part? A full week of footage, just gone. Wiped. Deleted. I froze. I knew those cameras were working. I'd set them up myself, checked every angle, configured automatic cloud backups. And I hadn't told anyone, not even Kelly, about that backup account. From that moment on, I couldn't unsee the weirdness. Kelly had started keeping her phone face down all the time. She'd end calls the second I walked into the room. And Trevor? He seemed to know things he shouldn't. What groceries we were running low on. Which brand of cereal we bought. He acted like he had access to our lives in ways that made my skin crawl. One night, I couldn't sleep. Just laid there, staring at the ceiling, trying to string the pieces together. Kelly was next to me, fast asleep. Pregnancy had been draining her lately. That's when I remembered. The cloud backup. I still had access. I slipped out of bed, crept into my home office, sat down at the computer, and opened the login screen. Time to find out what had really been going on. There were hundreds of clips saved in the cloud. I started with the footage from the week I was in Tokyo. The very first video showed Trevor arriving just minutes after I'd left for the airport. At first, nothing looked suspicious. Kelly had told me he'd be helping her unpack, and sure enough, there he was, carrying boxes, walking through the front door like he had every right to be there. Next clip, the two of them sitting on the couch. Close. Too close. Watching a movie. Still, could be innocent, right? Then came the third video. Trevor kissing Kelly. Right there. In our kitchen. Everything inside me just locked up. My hands started shaking as I clicked through the next clip. And the next. The videos told the full story. Trevor showed up every single day I was gone. Each time, they were closer. More casual. More familiar. Like there wasn't even a line to cross, because they'd already crossed it. Kelly wasn't resisting. She was inviting it. Like this was normal. Like he belonged there. And the worst part? It wasn't even heated or chaotic or reckless. It was quiet. Comfortable. They cooked dinner together, curled up on the couch I bought, moved through our house like they'd done it 100 times before. Trevor even brought groceries. Like he lived there. But the clip that hit the hardest was in the kitchen. He was standing way too close to her, saying something that made her laugh, and then he reached out and touched her face. Not a casual touch. Not a brother-in-law kind of touch. It was intimate. The kind of touch that leaves no doubt. And Kelly? She didn't pull away. She smiled at him. The exact same smile she used to give me. I stayed up the entire night watching every clip. Couldn't stop. Couldn't look away. I watched Trevor slide into my life like he owned it, and I watched Kelly welcome him like he'd always been there. He moved through our home like it was his. She treated him like he was me. There weren't any cameras in the bedroom. I'm cautious, but not that paranoid. Still, the hallway camera caught enough. Enough to see Trevor walk into our room with Kelly and not come out for hours. That was all I needed. I backed everything up, saved the footage to an encrypted drive, made multiple copies. Part of me, burning with rage, knew I'd need evidence. The other part, the part that still wore a wedding ring, felt physically sick. I tried, really tried, to convince myself maybe I was overreading it, that there had to be another explanation. But deep down, I already knew. My wife and my brother had betrayed me. In my house. In my bed. While I was 7,000 miles away, breaking myself to build a future for us. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I couldn't have functioned if I tried. I just sat in my home office, staring at the wall, waiting for her to wake up. Eventually, Kelly came in, bright, cheerful, talking about prenatal vitamins and setting up doctor appointments. Like she hadn't just spent the past week playing house with my brother. Like nothing had happened. I didn't say a word. I opened my laptop, pulled up the video, the one of her and Trevor in the kitchen, his hands all over her. I hit play. Kelly froze. Her face drained of color. Then came the tears. "I can explain," she whispered. "It's not what you think." But just like that, the script kicked in. The same tired lines. "It just happened. We didn't mean to." Trevor understands me. I let out this bitter, broken laugh, one of those hollow sounds you don't recognize coming out of your own mouth. "Trevor understands you?" I said. "You mean the guy who can't hold a job longer than 6 months? The one who lies for sport? That Trevor?" She didn't argue, didn't deny it. She just looked down, lips trembling, guilt in her eyes. I didn't yell, didn't scream. I looked her straight in the eye. "I gave you everything, Kelly. I killed myself building something real for us. You never had to worry about bills. You never had to wonder if I was committed. I supported your career. I crossed the damn ocean with you. I trusted you." Her eyes welled up again, but I wasn't finished. I grabbed my phone, shot a text to Trevor. No explanation. Just, "We need to talk. Come over. Now." He showed up not long after. Confident. Cocky, even. Probably figured Kelly hadn't told me yet. Probably thought I was still in the dark. That smug grin evaporated the second he saw the laptop on the table, video still playing. Every moment, frame by frame, right there on the screen. He looked at the footage, then at me. His posture changed instantly, tension in his shoulders, eyes flicking around the room. But he tried, of course. Trevor always tries. "Bro, look, you gotta understand." No, my voice was flat. Cold. "How long has this been going on?" Kelly was still crying behind me. I ignored her. Trevor started scrambling, looking for a way out. "It just happened, man. We didn't plan it. We didn't mean for it to go down like that." Kelly finally spoke up. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Please, it was a mistake. We didn't want to hurt you." I laughed again, sharper this time. Angrier. "You let him in, Kelly. You let him walk into our home, into our bed. You let him pretend he was me while I was gone. And now you want to tell me you didn't mean to hurt me?" Trevor's expression shifted. That fake remorse cracked, and something smug crept back into his voice. "Look, man, you're always gone. You're married to your job." Kelly was lonely. She needed someone who was actually there. And then he said it. The one thing that almost made me black out. "Maybe if you'd been a better husband, none of this would have happened." I swear I could feel every muscle in my body lock up. My fists clenched so tight it felt like bones might snap. I was one breath away from putting him straight through the wall. "Oh, is that what helps you sleep at night?" I looked at Trevor, my voice steady but sharp. "Telling yourself this is my fault. That you had to do this. Like you had no other choice but to crawl into someone else's life." Kelly had broken into full-on sobs behind me. Her voice came through the tears, cracked and pleading. "Please, we have to think about the baby." I turned to her, so quickly she flinched. "Whose baby is it, Kelly?" That question stopped everything. Her face just fell. She looked like she'd never even considered I might ask. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. "It's yours," she said finally. "I swear it's yours." "You swear?" I asked, my voice flat. "Like you swore I was the only one. Like you swore Trevor was just family." She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Trevor, clearly starting to panic, stepped in with that familiar tone. Calculated, smooth, designed to manipulate. "Come on, man, we're family. We can get past this." Something inside me snapped, not loudly, not violently, just clean, quiet. I walked toward him, slow and controlled, until we were face to face. "Let me make something clear," I said low. You're not my family. Not anymore. You stopped being my brother a long time ago. You're nothing to me." He looked like he wanted to speak again, maybe throw out another excuse, but I didn't give him the chance. "You crossed a line. And if that baby isn't mine," I leaned in just a little closer, "you'd better pack up whatever mess you're making and disappear. Because if I see you again, if you so much as show up near this house, there won't be another conversation." He froze. And for the first time, I think he actually understood that I meant it. Behind me, Kelly's voice came again, soft, desperate. "Please, can we just talk?" "No," I said, without turning around. "Both of you, get out." Kelly reached for me then, grabbed my hands like she was drowning. Her grip was tight, her face full of panic. "Please, we can fix this. We were lost. We didn't mean." I pulled my hands away, firm and fast. "I wasn't lost, Kelly. You were. And you let him walk you even further into it." "It was a mistake," she whispered. "A horrible mistake." "Yeah," I said. "No kidding." She gasped softly. Then the shift came, like it always does when people feel control slipping. "You're really going to punish the baby for this?" she asked. Her voice cracked at the perfect moment. "You're going to turn into some bitter father who ruins everything out of pride?" I looked at her, steady. "Don't even try that. This kid, if it's mine, is going to need one parent who doesn't lie." After that, it was more of the same. Excuses, soft apologies, defensive explanations. But I wasn't listening anymore. I told them again to leave. And this time they did. As soon as they were gone, I picked up my phone and called my parents. Maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see what kind of person Trevor really was. But the moment my mom answered, I knew it wasn't going to go that way. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, "what did you do to push Kelly away?" It felt like getting punched in the stomach. And she didn't stop. "Maybe Kelly just needed more from you. Maybe this is a wake-up call. Trevor's finally found someone who makes him happy," she said. "Maybe this was meant to be." I stood there, phone to my ear, completely stunned. "Are you even listening to yourself?" I asked. "Honey," she said, calm, like I was being unreasonable. "You've always been so focused on your work." Maybe Kelly felt neglected. I waited for someone to say something rational. But they just kept going. My dad said Trevor was on the right track now, that he was turning his life around. And then came the real kicker. They wanted me to help him, financially, until he got on his feet, until they got settled. Like I was supposed to fund the people who had betrayed me. Like that was just something I should do. And as if that wasn't enough, they started telling the rest of the family their version of the story. That I'd been cold, emotionally distant. That Kelly had felt abandoned. That Trevor was just trying to help. That the cameras in our house were proof I'd been controlling all along. That was it. That was the moment I knew I was done. Not just with Trevor and Kelly, but with them, too. That afternoon, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, a specialist in infidelity cases. I laid everything out. I had the footage. I had screenshots, messages, patterns. I had what I needed. We filed for divorce immediately. But my parents weren't finished. A week later, I got served with a lawsuit from them. They were demanding that I provide financial support for Trevor and Kelly. Their claim? That I had a familial obligation to support them during their transition. They wanted me to pay Trevor's rent, Kelly's expenses, even fund Trevor's next business idea. But what they didn't know, what they never imagined, was that while they were busy painting me as the villain, I'd been working quietly in the background. With my lawyer's help, we tracked down every single person Trevor had scammed over the past 5 years. We followed the trail through old posts, complaint forums, even court records. We reached out. We listened. And then we helped those people put together a class action lawsuit. Real claims, real documents, screenshots, testimony. And that lawsuit landed right as Trevor was trying to convince Kelly they had a fresh start waiting. Then we looked deeper into what Kelly and Trevor had really been doing, and what we found made everything worse. A lot worse. It turned out Kelly hadn't just cheated. She'd been helping Trevor access our shared bank accounts behind my back. My lawyer uncovered the paper trail. Money transfers, strange purchases, ATM withdrawals that lined up exactly with Trevor's visits. Every transaction told the story we hadn't wanted to see. We froze the accounts immediately and filed fraud reports with the bank. While that was playing out, my parents kept pushing forward with their lawsuit, demanding $4,200 a month for Trevor's living expenses, plus another $2,500 for Kelly. And the kicker? They also asked for a $35,000 check to fund Trevor's next startup. All of this, while no one even knew if the baby was mine. The court hearing landed exactly when we wanted it. My parents walked in smug, self-righteous, like they were about to watch me get what I deserved. They had no idea what was coming. My lawyer laid it all out. We showed Trevor's history of scams, laid out the evidence of how my parents had helped cover his tracks, and submitted bank records showing they had knowingly helped him hide money from previous victims. The judge ordered an immediate investigation into whether my parents had directly participated in criminal activity. Their faces drained in real time. And Kelly? She didn't get a clean break either. Her involvement in Trevor's schemes destroyed her credibility. Once the school board learned she'd been helping him target wealthy parents for shady investment pitches, they opened an ethics investigation. Her entire teaching career unraveled almost overnight. Trevor's network of lies started to collapse. As more people came forward, more details surfaced. His newer scams were exposed. His reputation was gone. Nobody wanted anything to do with him professionally, socially, financially. He tried running off to Nevada, but by that point, his accounts were frozen, his credit wrecked, and he had no backup plan. And every time his lawyer or my parents tried to claim I was controlling because of the home security cameras, it only made them look more ridiculous. The footage told the truth. I installed those cameras for safety during travel, not to spy, not to control. That narrative fell apart in front of the judge without me even needing to say much. Still, I wasn't finished. I needed clarity. I needed the truth about the baby. By the time the paternity hearing came around, their lives were crumbling. Trevor was under federal investigation, Kelly was unemployed and facing charges, and my parents were drowning in legal fees and losing credibility fast. Their blended family fantasy was falling apart, and all I had done was stop covering for them. As I sat in that waiting room, I realized something. I didn't even care about their downfall anymore. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about the future. What kind of life I could rebuild. Whether there was still a future here for me. And maybe for my child. If the baby was mine, I was ready. I had everything I needed to push for full custody. All the evidence. The timeline. The character profiles. Then came the answer. The results were in. I was the father. When Amanda, my lawyer, told me I had to sit down, it hit me harder than I expected. The betrayal, the hurt, it didn't vanish. It just got tangled with something heavier. Life doesn't just twist the knife. Sometimes it turns it slowly. But it got worse. The very next day, Kelly showed up at my door. Uninvited. She told me to drop all legal action. Said families stick together. Like we were just working through a rough patch. Like she hadn't blown everything apart and dragged my brother into the wreckage. And Trevor? He was with her. They pitched this unhinged idea of modern co-parenting. Claimed we could all just live under one roof and figure it out. They were broke. Desperate. Looking for a way back in. And just when I thought it couldn't get more absurd, they recorded the conversation, hoping to use it against me in court. What they didn't realize. My security system records audio. So now I had crystal clear footage of both of them trying to guilt trip me, ask for housing, and accidentally confessing to multiple other schemes on tape. Amanda said it was like getting a holiday gift wrapped in gold. And karma? It didn't walk. It sprinted. Trevor tried pulling a scam on a group of investors in Nevada. Bad luck for him. One of them was an undercover FBI agent. He got arrested. My parents sold their vacation home to post bail. And still, they called me. Still asking if I'd help him get back on track. Kelly's world wasn't faring much better. The school board completed its investigation. They found she'd used her teaching job to collect financial data from parents, which she passed on to Trevor. The Department of Education opened a file. And now she's facing lawsuits from multiple families. Then came the final attempt to rewrite the story. My parents tried staging a church intervention. They told the congregation I was unstable, said I was spiraling, that I needed prayer and support. They invited Kelly's family. They brought in church elders, all to pray over me. What they didn't know was that Amanda had already spoken privately to the church board, and she told them the truth. That Trevor had been scamming members of that very congregation, mostly elderly ones. The intervention fell apart on the spot. The church turned on them. Now my parents are basically outcasts in their own community. It's strange how silence feels after everything finally stops. There are no more court dates. No more calls from my parents. No more unexpected knocks at the door. Just me, a quiet apartment, and the sound of my own breathing again. The truth is, I don't know exactly what comes next. I still have to navigate custody, rebuild trust with myself, figure out how to be a father in the middle of all this wreckage. But for the first time in a long time, it feels like I'm not drowning in someone else's chaos. I don't check my phone out of fear anymore. I don't wait for another betrayal to land. I just get up, make coffee, and keep moving forward. People keep asking if I feel vindicated, if I'm proud of how it all played out. But I'm not chasing justice anymore. I'm chasing peace. And maybe that starts with accepting that sometimes the people who were supposed to love you never actually did. Maybe it starts with letting go of the version of your life you thought you had and building something better from the ruins. I don't know what kind of man I'll be a year from now. I don't know what kind of father I'll turn out to be. But I do know this. I'm done apologizing for asking to be treated with respect. I'm done shrinking myself to make other people comfortable. And I'm done calling betrayal family. From here on out, I choose better. For me. For the child. For the life I'm still learning how to live.